Alrighty, so today I just wanted to go ahead and give you guys a breastfeeding update. Like I mentioned in my 12-week postpartum update, I wanted to make a separate video just because I feel like this story is a little lengthy. And for those of them who weren't interested, I wanted them to just be able to watch that video. And for you guys, I just wanted to be able to explain myself thoroughly. So I did have every intention on exclusively nursing for the first couple weeks of Remy's life and then switching over to exclusively pumping. However, that is not what had happened. As I mentioned in a couple of our previous update videos, Remy did have some trouble with her low blood sugars after birth. So right away, they were telling me that I had to nurse all the time, wake her up every 2 hours, doesn't matter. So I was really, focused on that, trying to get her numbers up. However, by the end of day 1, they were still not where they needed to be, and they wanted me to either start pumping and supplementing with express breast milk or to supplement with formula just to get her numbers up. So I wanted to go the express breast milk way, so I got a pump. I got the Medela Symphony. Amazing. I love that pump. I have been asked quite a few times what I think about it, and I think it's a great pump all around. If I could have one at home, and honestly, if I could redo my pumping journeys all over again, I think I would have bought a Symphony from the start and just been set, because I absolutely love that pump. I know $1,500 is a lot of money, but it is totally worth it. Anyways, so I got a pump and I started pumping after each nursing session. Obviously at first I wasn't getting a lot, that's totally normal. And as a veteran breastfeeder, it was actually pretty frustrating to me that I had to even deal with this, because I know right off the bat when you're breastfeeding, you do not need to and you shouldn't be worried about how much you're making. You just need to trust your body, everything will be okay as long as they're having enough dirty diapers. But unfortunately, I didn't get even like 4 hours of that before I did have to start worrying about how much I was making, and it was a concern for me to keep making more and more and more to be able to supplement after feedings with that. So it was a little frustrating just because I knew that it shouldn't be on my plate, but it was. So yeah, I just kept up that pumping and nursing routine, and I was able to get her blood sugars up by the end of the first day. However, at the beginning of the second day, her numbers were not where they should have been again, but I just stuck to it. I was trying to make sure that I was emptying, sticking to a schedule, all the basic stuff. And eventually at the end of the second day, we were able to get her blood sugars where they were supposed to be, and eventually got her cleared from having her blood sugar tested all the time altogether. So I feel like because I was pumping so often, so frequently on top of nursing, it really brought my milk in full-fledged. I had a ton of milk to bring home by the time we left the hospital, and I think I put away like 50 some ounces from the hospital, and it was around right when we got home that I just started experiencing the engorgement and just being, I guess it was kind of the last day there, because the last night that we stayed at the hospital, I fell asleep with a bag of ice literally on either side of each boob. It was just ridiculous. A nurse came in and was like, honey, you might want to take those off, you're gonna freeze them off. But it felt good. So yeah, when I got home, the engorgement really started to set in, and it's very difficult. I feel like those first few weeks, your boobs are just trying to figure out what's going on. You're engorged. It's hard to empty. It's hard to tell if you're empty, if you're not, if they're just like kind of swollen, whatever is going on. It's just so hard to gauge. And with my massive oversupply, it was so overwhelming to nurse and pump. To have to nurse, and that took between 20-30 minutes depending, and then as soon as I would get done nursing, I would have to pump at least the other boob, if not what was ever left in the one she had fed off of. And then by the time I would get done pumping, I'd have about 45 minutes until I had a nurse again. It was ridiculous. And I just felt like I was constantly doing one or the other, and I was trying to squeeze in sleep where I could as well. And I also had a toddler at home, and I honestly wasn't interested in losing my supply, and I'll get to that here in a second, but I made the choice to decide one or the other. And as I had always decided and pretty much had already made my mind up before I even had her that I wanted to exclusively pump, that's what I switched over to do, because it was just becoming too much for me to handle. Now, I know I could have cut my supply down, I could have exclusively nursed. However, I feel like I was very emotionally attached to my supply already. To me, I have this supply because I had to make my body demand it to keep my baby healthy when she was born. So to me, I'm just kind of emotionally attached to it, and I'm also very worried to lose it because with Sophie, I slacked off and I didn't keep a good pumping schedule when I was exclusively pumping, and because of that I lost a good bit of my supply. So I just decided to go ahead and switch over to exclusively pumping, and I'll make more of an in-depth exclusively pumping video on how to go from nursing to exclusively pumping. But that switch was relatively easy, and I feel like the first couple weeks of EP were actually pretty easy, and it was kind of like my old groove, and I was just doing my thing, and it wasn't a big deal. And then it was like I hit a brick wall going 60 miles an hour. It really was. I can't remember what week exactly it was. I want to say around 5 or 6. I can't remember. I started getting clog after clog after clog. There's some of them, I shouldn't say some, most of them were directly behind my nipple, and those are the worst to deal with. Oh my gosh, are they so excruciating. And I was dealing with them every single pump session. I had at least one clog every time I pumped. And some of them were really bad. I would say out of the 8 to 9 times a day I was pumping, at least half of those were clogs that completely stopped milk flow. Those ones are vicious. They are so bad. And I really, like I've said before, the only thing that has ever really helped clogs for me is heat, vibration, and hand expression. And vibration was not doing a thing for these. Heat was doing a little bit, but it was hard to, with as engorged as I've become, and you know, with as big as my boobs have gotten, it's hard to find a warm compress big enough to heat the entire area that I needed. So hand expression was really my only option left, and I got real familiar on how to hand express, and I got brushed up on it relatively quickly, and it did help, but I was just hitting this vicious cycle. By the time I either got done hand expressing milk out or I got finished pumping, I was pumping for so long, or pumping and hand expressing, that I literally had 45 minutes until I had to pump again. And it felt like I was in the same position as I was with nursing, just because of this massive oversupply. And it was just leading to me being stressed out all the time. I was very emotional because I felt like all I did was pump and hand express, and it really does start to get to you. It starts to weigh you down. You do get emotional because clogs are also really hard on your body. You know, obviously I'm hand expressing these, it's hard on my wrists and stuff. I know this sounds silly, but it really is, and it's a lot to go through, especially being newly postpartum, having a baby, having a toddler. It's just a lot. So I really felt like for a couple weeks I was really struggling, and I was also having vasospasms. I didn't know what they were until I talked to Josie, and she helped me through a lot of this, but she did let me know that I was having vasospasms, and I might do a separate video on this altogether because it's kind of complicated too. But it basically felt like liquid fire inside my boob. I just had a lot going on, and I honestly felt like, okay, I either need to figure something out, or I'm gonna I honestly wanted to quit. I told Mark that, you know what, I'm gonna leave the clogs in, I'm gonna get mastitis, I'm gonna just let my boobs rot off, I'm done with this. Like, I've never felt so defeated so fast in breastfeeding as I did. So it was really hard for me. I thought just because I was more experienced this time around that I would have an easier time with it. However, I feel like I almost had a little bit of a harder time with it. So like I said, I talked to Josie, I troubleshooted some things, and I really got to a place of not stressing out about it. And just with a couple other things that we tweaked, I was able to get into a comfortable routine. And I feel like after 4 or 5 days of taking those recommendations from Josie, whew, all the world of difference. And it has been smooth sailing so far, except for like the past few days I've been getting clogs, but that's a different story. But it just got so much better. I have had questions on how much I'm producing. Now I do want to say that what I'm about to say is not normal, it's not ideal, but I am producing on average between 115 to 120 ounces a day. Can produce more, I can produce less. I don't typically produce any less than 100 ounces a day though. Like I said, that is not ideal. That is not normal at all. It's not something I would even say to strive for. Unfortunately, that's just what my body did when I demanded so much milk. I feel like from the beginning, it just kicked it into overdrive. So I am in the process of donating breast milk because I do have my freezer full already. I have over 4,500 ounces saved for Remy as of, I think, 11 weeks is when I stopped putting away for my personal stash, and I've started making a stash for donation. But I do have quite a bit of my own stash for Remy just in case anything were to happen, and I do feel fortunate in the way that I don't have to worry about undersupply and that I'm able to feed more than just my baby. You know, I want to be able to help where I can, and you know, if I do have this oversupply, then I feel like it definitely should be shared if I can. So that's what I intend on doing. And also, it's been really great because shortly, I think it was around like 5 or 6 weeks postpartum, Sophie got really sick. She got a very bad stomach bug, which she passed off to me, but she had a really bad stomach bug and she refused to eat or drink anything. But I was producing so much breast milk that I was giving her breast milk, and that was the only thing that she had really to eat or drink for like 4 days. And I'm so thankful for that because I really felt like it did give her a source of nutrition and also kept her hydrated. So I was really thankful, and I've kind of spoiled her with it from that because now she only wants breast milk over her almond milk. So I've been giving breast milk to Sophie. Remy is obviously on breast milk as well, and that's the only thing she's been getting. And I don't know, I'm just very thankful for my oversupply because I feel like I can feed Remy, I can feed Sophie, I can feed other babies, but it hasn't come without its complications. It has definitely been a very tough journey, and I don't think that I'm even close to scratching the surface of this, but I am very fortunate in it, and I've worked very hard for it as well. Oh yeah, just to throw it in there really quickly, like I said, Sophie got a stomach bug. It was really, really bad, and she passed it off to me about 3 days into hers, and it was just the worst. I couldn't keep anything down, and I basically just lived on Gatorade and just sticking to my pump schedule. And luckily, when I think I wasn't tracking my ounces during that time because I was so sick I could barely stay awake, but during that time I'm sure I produced less. But however, when it did pass, I finally did make more, so that was nice. I did get my first postpartum period. That doesn't seem to have affected my milk supply at all, but I never experienced any kind of trouble with that with Sophie either. So far, not too bad in the breastfeeding journey. I will say, and maybe I shouldn't say this out loud because I haven't fully decided, but it's not a goal, but I'm thinking that I'm going to exclusively pump for 2 years. I would really like to give Remy fresh breast milk for 2 years. I would have liked to do that with Sophie, but I got pregnant with Remy, and I don't know, I think I really do want to give it a go. I've had quite a few questions as to why. Basically, almond milk is expensive, and if I can, I feel like I should go for it, you know. So I'm gonna see if I can stick it out that long. Like I said, I don't like to set goals. I don't want to put that pressure of breastfeeding on myself. I'll go with the flow. But yeah, so far as of 12 weeks, that's what's going on in my breastfeeding journey. I just wanted to give you guys an update, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.